also questions about how well they'll work against the variants. So to help us answer those questions, let's bring in Dr. Dan Skovronsky. He's Chief Scientific Officer at Eli Lilly. Dr. Skovronsky, it's great to see you. These data are really exciting. I mean, a drug that can keep people out of the hospital, prevent deaths. We already knew that the data were good behind the antibody drugs. What do these today add to the picture?
Yeah, thanks, Meg. It's great to be chatting. It was just a little bit less than a year ago that we talked about kicking off this program. And here we are a year later now with the highest level of evidence that we use for drugs. 2 randomized controlled trials, highly statistically significant, on a key outcome measure here, which is reducing hospitalizations and deaths. It's beyond our wildest expectations that we could achieve this level of efficacy. If you look at the data from these trials and the trial that we just announced today, we had about a 6% hospitalization or death rate in the placebo group versus less than 1% in the treatment group. That means you only need to treat about 20 patients to avoid 1 hospitalization or death. Across the 2 studies, 14 people died, unfortunately, in the placebo group of about 750 subjects. No subjects out of more than 1,000 treated died. So just over 50 treatments to avoid 1 death. That's incredible data. We don't have many drugs against any disease. Forget about a disease as common as COVID-19 that can offer that level of efficacy. So what that means is now we have this evidence. I think it will open up more usage of the drug. As you pointed out, there hasn't been a lot of awareness, and some patients and physicians have been skeptical. I think we've now passed the highest hurdle of evidence, and it should really open up for so many patients now.
At the same time, it's so odd to say, oh, there wasn't awareness, because these were the kinds of drugs, not yours specifically, it was the Regeneron cocktail, but these were the kinds of drugs that President Trump got when he got sick with COVID. So people know about these drugs, but are enough people now getting them? And what's the biggest barrier? Is it getting fixed?
Yeah, that's a fair point, Meg. Maybe it's the right kind of awareness that we have to focus on, and the right kind of awareness comes from randomized controlled trials. That's one of the barriers, really, was doctors' acceptance of the data, and moving from anecdotal to trial data is a huge step. There are others. It's free to patients. We make sure of that to get the medicine. But it's an infusion. When we first launched this in November, it was an hour-long infusion. Now it's down to, depending on the drug, as little as 16 or 20 minutes. That makes it easier for patients, easier for healthcare facilities. So that's important. But probably the biggest factor here, Meg, is that these drugs work best early in the disease course. So it's people who are at risk who've recently been infected. And often at that moment, people don't feel that sick. They think, oh, it's like the flu, I'll probably get better. They're right. They probably will get better. And in our trials, most patients do. But to see 6% end up in the hospital, 2% of patients die, those aren't odds you want to take. And so I think it's creating that sense of understanding that this could turn out very, very serious for any one individual. We're not great at predicting who's going to have a bad outcome beyond those risk factors like age or obesity or high blood pressure, diabetes. And so getting patients who qualify treated quickly, I think, is important. That's a change in medical care.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.